He humiliated us as cultural sellouts at a global industry summit. So we humiliated him with his own paid vloggers confessing on camera. Watching him apologize on video while his urban brew empire dissolved. My name is Arjun Mehta. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in. Do you smell it? Cardamom, cracked open to release its sweet, piney soul. Ginger, sharp and warm, a fire in the throat. Cinnamon, clove, black pepper, a symphony of earth and heat. And beneath it all, the deep, malty roar of Assam tea leaves boiling, whispering stories of monsoon rains and rich, red soil. This scent is my first memory. It is the scent of my grandmother's sari as she pulled me onto her lap in her Mumbai kitchen. It is the scent of my father's exhausted, hopeful sigh when he returned from driving his cab in the New York cold, his hands cradling the steel tumbler my mother placed before him. It is the scent of my life's work, my pride, my war, and my ultimate vengeance. This isn't just a story about business. It's a story about what happens when you try to poison a family's legacy. When you mistake quiet pride for weakness and cultural heritage for a marketing gimmick. It's about how my brother Rohan and I, the sons of a taxi driver and a seamstress, built a billion-dollar empire from a single pot of chai. And how we burned to the ground the man who tried to destroy it with lies. If you're listening to this, you understand that success is a fortress people will constantly try to siege. Some will charge the gates openly. Others, the cowards, will try to tunnel underneath to poison the well within. If you're new here and you believe in protecting what you've built with every fiber of your being, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Revenge Stories. We stand for the underdogs who become top dogs, and for the justice that leaves no room for doubt. Our parents, Papa and Ma, were the original dreamers. They arrived at JFK in 1987 with 2 freight suitcases and advanced degrees in engineering that America, in its infinite wisdom, decided were worthless. Their pride was stored away with their saris and kurta pajamas. Papa learned the map of New York City one fare at a time in a battered yellow cab that smelled of stale cigarettes and despair. Ma's hands, which had solved complex equations, now performed the delicate calculus of altering cheap suits for Wall Street aspirants in the back of a Queens dry cleaner. Their America was one of long silences, of saving every dollar, of relentless, grinding dignity. But every evening, without fail, a ritual saved them. The small, battered steel pot would come out. The spices would be measured not with teaspoons, but with intuition passed down through generations. The water would boil, the leaves would stew, the milk would foam. And for 10 minutes, the tiny apartment would be filled with that smell. Not just of chai, but of home, of resilience, of an unbroken thread connecting them to who they were. Rohan and I would do our homework at the Formica table, bathing in that fragrant steam. It was our inheritance. Not money, but a recipe for survival. Rohan, older by 18 months, was born with a spreadsheet where his soul should be, or so I teased him. He saw the world in systems, in opportunities, in margins. I was the artist, the dreamer. I could lose an hour watching Ma's precise movements, understanding that she wasn't just making tea. She was performing alchemy, transforming fatigue into comfort, loneliness into connection. While Rohan plotted our lemonade stand profits, I experimented with adding a pinch of star anise or a slice of fresh turmeric to the family pot, often with disastrous results after college. Rohan to Wharton. Me to Culinary Institute, the expected paths awaited. Investment banking for him, sous chef at a trendy Manhattan fusion restaurant for me. We were living our parents' dream, successful, assimilated, American. And we were miserable. We felt like traitors. We were using our skills to build someone else's legacy. The catalyst was a freezing Thanksgiving. We were all in Queens, the smell of Ma's chai cutting through the scent of roasting turkey. Papa, his hands permanently curved from the steering wheel, looked at us. "You are good boys. You have good jobs, but He hesitated, searching for the English words. Where is your shan? Your own honor. Your own creation. That word, shan, hit me like a physical blow. It meant dignity, glory, distinctive pride. He was right. We were cogs. Later that night, in our old shared bedroom, Rohan stared at the ceiling. What if, he said, slowly, we build Shan? Not with a tech app, not with a hedge fund. With that, he pointed towards the kitchen. Chai. I laughed. Rohan, it's what poor students and old aunties drink. America runs on coffee. America runs on authenticity, he countered, sitting up. Look at the food scene, farm table craft, everything. People crave story, they crave real. What's more real than this? Our story. Our family's story. In a cup, the idea, once spoken, became an obsession. We spent months deconstructing the recipe not as cooks, but as entrepreneurs. The problem with most chai in America was that it was a syrup. A powdered caricature cloyingly sweet, one-dimensional. We would do the opposite. We would highlight the complexity. Single estate, organic Assam leaves for a robust base. Fresh, knobby ginger, not powder. Whole spices, toasted and ground in small batches. We would use organic milk and a touch of raw demerara sugar. Just enough to balance, not dominate. The branding was my passion. I didn't want a stereotypical Bollywood poster or an elephant logo. I wanted modern India. We hired a brilliant young designer from Delhi. Our logo was a simple, elegant DC monogram, but the C was formed by the graceful curve of a steaming chai pour. A hint of a spice swirl within the steam. Our stores would feel like a contemporary. Serene Indian home warm teakwood, clean lines. Beautiful Yali screens casting patterned shadows. The soft, global beats of artists like Ritviz and Seedmont in the background. We called it Desi Chag, reclaiming the word Desi with pride, convincing our parents to risk their home. The embodiment of their 30 years of struggle for a tea shop was the hardest sell of our lives. There were tears, there were shouting matches in Gujarati, there were long, heavy silences. But Rohan, with his impeccable business plan, and me, with my fervent, heartfelt passion, finally broke through. We saw the moment it happened. Papa looked at Ma, and a silent communication passed between them. It was the look of people who had risked everything once before for a far scarier unknown. He nodded. The $50,000 loan was secured. Seattle was our choice. A city that understood coffee rituals, reigned enough to appreciate warmth, and had a population eager for the next new thing. Our first store was a narrow, square-foot space in Capitol Hill. I was the barista, the cook, the cleaner. Rohan was the marketer, the accountant, the negotiator. We opened at 5 a.m. for the early shift workers. We offered a founder's chai, the exact recipe from our mother's kitchen. We offered a cardamom dream, a ginger fire, a silk road with black pepper and saffron. We talked to every customer. We told them about Papa and Ma. We made each cup to order, straining it from pot to cup with a practiced high pour. It caught on. First with the South Asian students, homesick and thrilled. Then with the yoga crowd, seeking turmeric and ginger. Then with the tech workers, needing a caffeine hit that didn't leave them jittery. A line started forming out the door. The Seattle Times food critic called it a revelation in a cup, a journey for the senses. Within a year, we were profitable. We opened a second store in Portland. Then San Francisco. Our growth was explosive, organic, and deeply deliberate. We franchised carefully, only to operators who understood our ethos. We built a central Chai Guruko school in New Jersey, where every franchisee, manager, and barista spent 2 weeks learning not just the recipes, but the stories behind them. We implemented a profit-sharing model for store employees that was revolutionary in the food service industry. Our success was a feel-good story, and the media loved it. Forbes, Inc., Magazine, CNN, the Chai Kings, the second-generation spice revolution. We were a unicorn, then a decaca. Our IPO was one of the most successful of the decade. Papa and Ma, in traditional dress, rang the opening bell on Wall Street. I watched Ma wipe a tear from her eye, her altered hands now holding a banner for the company she helped create without ever meaning to. We had built our SHAAN, but in the shadow of every bright light, cockroaches gather. Our success created enemies. The established coffee chains saw us as a niche fad. Until we weren't. The worst of them was Urban Brew, founded by Carson Holt, a man whose For years, it was a Cold War. We focused on quality and community. He focused on saturation and marketing spend. He opened across the street from us in major markets, offering buy one get one free deals that hurt our sales temporarily but never converted our loyal customers. He would smirk at us at industry events, calling our chai adorable and ethnic. We ignored him. Our numbers spoke for themselves. The first real shot across our bow was at the Global Food and Beverage Innovation Summit in Las Vegas. Rohan and I were keynote speakers, sharing our stage with the founder of a plant-based meat company. We spoke about conscious capitalism, building a brand with a soul. We talked about our sourcing partnerships with small farms in Assam and Kerala, about our foundation funding girls' education in tea-growing regions. The audience was captivated. Carson Holt was in the front row. During the Q&A, he took the microphone. He was dressed in a tight-fitting, expensive sweater, a uniform of casual arrogance. A very touching narrative. Arjun Rohan, he began, his voice slick as oil. Really, it's a masterclass in sentimental branding. The condescension was a physical presence in the room. But let's puncture the feel-good bubble for a second, shall we? At its core, isn't Desi Chai just the commodification, and frankly, the dilution of a very specific cultural tradition for mass, predominantly white, consumption? You've taken a sacred domestic ritual, stripped it of its true context, packaged it in trendy, minimalist aesthetics, and marked it up 400%. Isn't that the ultimate exploitation? At Urban Brew, we're honest. We sell a beverage. We don't sell a guilt-assuaging story. The air was sucked out of the ballroom. It was a vicious, premeditated attack designed to paint us as cultural sellouts and hypocrites. I felt a white-hot rage rise in my throat. But Rohan, ever the ice to my fire, calmly took his mic. "Carson, thank you for the question," he said, his voice eerily calm. "A recipe without a story is just a list of ingredients. It's inert. A story without respect, without truth, is just manipulation, which you seem to know a lot about. You see dilution. We see evolution. You see exploitation. We see sharing. The true context of our chai is my mother's kitchen, my father's hope. That context is in every cup we sell. We sleep very well at night, Carson. I'm not sure you can say the same, given how much you seem to need our story to even have a topic to discuss today." The audience erupted in applause. It was a flawless public evisceration. Holt's smug smile froze, then melted into a tight, furious line. He had been humiliated in front of the entire industry. As we left the stage, I caught his eye. It wasn't anger I saw anymore. It was something colder, more calculating. A man who had decided the rules no longer applied. The covert war began within weeks. It started with a whisper campaign. An anonymous, newly created blog called The Ethical Consumer published a long, poorly sourced article questioning the legitimacy of our direct trade promises in Assam. It cited unnamed fieldworkers making vague claims. We knew it was rubbish. We had video calls with our farm partners weekly, but it required a lengthy, detailed public rebuttal. Then, a string of one-star reviews popped up on Yelp and Google for our flagship stores. The language was similar. Got sick after drinking here. Found a hair in my chai. Tastes like chemical perfume. Our social media team, led by the brilliant and fierce Priya Kapoor, flagged them as suspicious all from new accounts, all using similar phrasing. Next came the regulatory harassment. Health department inspections, always announced but on bizarre peak business days, and always tipped off by an anonymous concern about rodent activity or improper food storage. We passed every single one with perfect scores. The inspectors themselves would often apologize for the disruption. Got a real motivated complainant on you guys, one muttered in Brooklyn. Then, the freezer truck incident. One of our contracted drivers, making a delivery of ginger and cardamom to our New Jersey commissary, was pulled over for a random Department of Agriculture inspection. The agents, citing an anonymous tip about smuggled, pesticide-laden produce, made him unload every crate in a parking lot in the July heat, expecting each piece individually for 2 hours. Much of the temperature-sensitive ginger was ruined. It was a costly, demoralizing stunt. Rohan convened a war council in our New York HQ. Me, Priya, and our head of security, a grizzled ex-NYPD lieutenant named Frank O'Malley. "It's Holt," Rohan said, stating what we all knew. "He's moved from competition to sabotage. This is a coordinated smear campaign. He's trying to create a narrative of shadiness, of instability, to scare off investors, to make customers think twice. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. We need to link it to him," I said, frustrated. "We can't keep playing whack-a-mole with these anonymous attacks." "That's exactly what he wants," Priya said, her fingers flying across her laptop. "He wants us distracted, defensive, spending our energy reacting. He wants us to look paranoid if we accuse him without proof." Frank leaned forward, his voice a low growl. "Guys like this, they're smart. They don't get their own hands dirty. They hire intermediaries, PR firms, private investigators, online reputation management goons. It's a shell game. To get proof, we need to get ahead of the next move. We need to anticipate the big play." Priya's head snapped up. The big play is always social media. That's where reputations are born and murdered. Now. She spun her screen around. It showed a sophisticated social listening dashboard. I've been tracking anomalous chatter. For mid-tier food vloggers, Chase the Taste, Jess Eats the World, Derek's Deep Dives, Tyler's Truth. Their engagement metrics are artificially inflated. Bot farms are flooding their comment sections with specific, leading questions about Desi Chai. She played an audio clip from a recent Chase the Taste live stream. A user with a generic name asked, "Chase, love your vids. Would you ever do an expose on Desi Chai? I heard from a friend who works there the authentic spices are just cheap flavor packs from China." Priya paused it. "That's a planted question. The language is too specific. Flavor packs from China. It's priming the audience, creating a subconscious link between us and inauthenticity even before any video is made." She brought up analytics for the other 3 vloggers. The pattern was identical. Suddenly, their audiences were obsessed with asking about Desi Chai's hygiene, sourcing, and realness. "They're building the gallows before they even have the prisoner," Rohan said, his eyes cold. "They're going for a coordinated takedown, all for drop a shocking expose on the same day. The algorithms will amplify the controversy. It'll trend for 48 hours. Even when we disprove it, the headline Desi Chai accused of faking it is forever in the search results. It's digital arsenic. The outrage I felt was a clean, sharp blade. This wasn't just business. This was an attempt to murder our parents' dream, to spit on the thousands of employees who believed in us, to reduce our culture to a fraudulent punchline. We sue them. We sue Holt. we bury them in lawsuits, and they'll say it's opinion or they were misled by a source, Rohan countered. The discovery process would take years. The damage would be done. No. He stood up, pacing. We don't defend. We don't deny. We expose. We turn their weapon back on them. We need to get inside the conspiracy. The plan that formed was audacious, ethically gray, and perfectly fitted for the digital battlefield we were on. Frank O'Malley had connections. He introduced us to a boutique, terrifyingly competent firm called Aegis Shield. Founded by former Mossad and MI6 operatives specializing in corporate counterintelligence. For a staggering fee, they were on board. Priya, using a burner phone and advanced encryption, created a persona, Anya Sharma, a freelance ethical whistleblower journalist. She reached out to each of the 4 vloggers via their business emails, using phrasing designed to trigger their greed and self-importance. To Chase, I'm a former supply chain manager for Desi Chai. I have damning, irrefutable footage of systematic fraud and health violations at their core facility. I wanted to go to a creator with the courage to tell the truth, not the corporate-friendly media. I can provide the footage and a significant financial grant to support your investigative work. Simultaneously, Priya and our PR team prepared the digital battlefield. They prepared a multi-phase media rollout. They drafted statements. They prepared the video edit, the smoking gun supercut. That would tell our story for us. The day the vloggers were scheduled to drop their exposes, a date we knew because Priya. As Anya had helped them coordinate it, we launched our preemptive strike at 8 a.m. Eastern. All Desi Chai social channels, 13 million followers across platforms, went dark. Our website displayed a single static holding page, a digital blackout. This in itself created panic and intense curiosity. Hashtag Desi Chai blackout started trending on Twitter within minutes. At 10 a.m., a single post appeared on all channels. A stark black image with white, elegant text. A statement on integrity, sabotage, and truth. 12 p.m. EST. The comments exploded with speculation. At noon, we didn't post a statement. We posted a video. A 22-minute masterpiece of narrative and evidence. It opened not with our logo, but with slow motion. Black and white home video footage of my mother's hands making chai, my father's smiling, tired face. A voiceover, my voice, steady but charged with emotion, began. For generations, my family has believed that what you brew in your pot is a reflection of what you hold in your heart. Integrity, family, trust. 10 years ago, my brother and I poured those values into a single cup and offered it to America. You embraced it. You made our dream your own. Today, we must defend that shared dream from a calculated, malicious attack. The music shifted, becoming tense, percussive. The screen split into 4 quadrants, showing the hidden camera footage of Chase, Jess, Derek, and Tyler. We played the most damning clips. With subtitles for clarity, Chase, I can deep fake Arjun's voice. Play sad sitar music over slum footage. Jess, do you have more visually appealing mold? Derek, can we plant cockroaches for me to find? Tyler, double the fee or I warn the others. The video then showed Anya in each meeting, asking about coordination and feeding the line about the benefactor in the beverage business. It showed the briefcases of cash being opened. The screen then displayed a digital map of the USA, with lines connecting Holt's corporate HQ to the 4 vlogger cities, with timestamps of the meetings and wire transfers traced by Aegis Shield. From a shell corporation to accounts linked to the vloggers, the final act of the video was a direct address. Rohan and I sat in our office, the NYC skyline behind us. Rohan spoke, his legal training giving his words a devastating weight. We have today filed lawsuits against these 4 individuals for their role in this conspiracy. We have also filed